Welcome to the Inspiration Incubator, everyone. I'm your host, Leona Baker. How you doing this evening, Baley?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
How you doing this evening, Andrea?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here to have this conversation.
Yes. And how are you doing, Miss Tracie J?
I am doing all right.
All right. Well, firstly, I'm going to introduce Miss Baley Charles. She has been an educator for 6 years, and she works specifically with special needs students. She loves all her students that she engages with, but that has been her focus for the last 6 years. So we're excited to have her here with us this evening. We also have the lovely Miss Andrea Mosley, and I'm going to read a little bit of her bio as well as Miss Tracie J's, and I'll explain why. Andrea M. Mosley is a licensed professional counselor with a specialty in marriage and family therapy. She enjoys helping clients remember their true essence through manifesting their heart's desires. She specializes in developing journeys for a person who feels stuck and know they need a change. Her belief is that life is good and wants to treat you well. Andrea can listen and discern what should happen for your next steps. Her gift for getting to it has helped many create the desired life on their own terms. So Miss Andrea Mosley is our psychotherapist who's with us this evening, and we're excited to have her here. Moving on, I'm going to read the next bio, and the reason is Miss Tracie J was actually the inspiration for this panel. I met this beautiful spirit years ago at Inspire Women. She was just, engaging, intelligent, beautiful, articulate, and we just clicked, so we exchanged social media accounts, and I've been able just to see her moving and shaking. And I tell you, she made this wonderful, fabulous post as a single woman, just announcing that she was available if someone had a gentleman in mind that that you felt she should meet. And she just put it out there in a way that I was just like, whoa, this sister is bold. She is courageous. And it was ladylike. She's like, look, hey, I'm single and ready to mingle, in short. So let me just read a little bit about Tracie J. In business and in life, Tracie J is the quiet rebel. Her work in the world is creating incremental and organic shifts to the status quo using conversations as instruments of change. Woo, honey, when I read that, I said, oh, I love that line. I'm gonna have to use that. Whether working with individuals, communities, or organizations, she creates space to ensure that voices are heard and thoughts are respected. Her frameworks include 100 Voices, Guided Conversations, and Human-Centered Equity. As often as possible, she incorporates silence in her work to offer participants opportunities to seek their own truths. Tracie holds a BA in Business Management and an MA in Strategic Communication and Leadership. Her commitment to service spans over decades of volunteerism and vocation in Houston's nonprofit sector, including 5 years in education. She currently serves as regional representative for the Labyrinth Society and is active on the League of Women Voters Marketing Committee. Welcoming Tracie J. All right. Now, we're going to start in the area of all things love. But I want to hit on some key points and get these women's opinions, starting with fallacia love, which is self-love. So the question is for the ladies, how do you define self-love for yourself as a woman in 2022? What does that look like for you? Andrea?
Okay. Self-love for me in 2022 looks like me really like being, instead of being in the past, being all those things for everyone else and showing up for everyone else, that I show up in that way for myself first. So it is like really leaning in, being clear about what I want. It is also holding my boundaries when I need to. staying when I need to stay and going when I need to go. It is offering, just being in a love vibration and just a high vibration energetically wise, as I talk about because I am a manifestation coach, it's just like being in a space of love, like, because that's what I want. So I'm giving out, just being that in that space. So it's dating myself, not waiting on someone else to date me. It's dating myself. It's traveling, just experiencing all those things, because when I partner, when I find that partner that's right for me, I will have this interesting life and I will have something to contribute, and I will recognize him because he will have done some of the same type of work. We will have vibrated in the same way. So that is my self-love in 2022.
All right. I love it, honey. I think you probably said and hit on a few things with all of us. Okay. Miss Baley Charles, how do you define love in 2022?
Yeah, she definitely hit on a lot of self-love. I think we all should be, going into our future dating life or love life with that same mentality. And for me, I just have to add, just really taking care of myself, doing the things that I love. I'm into makeup, so I like doing my makeup. That makes me feel good. Fitness, I love working out, just doing things that make me feel happy. I love for music, so just, listening to music that I love. That's self-care for me. Just like Miss Andrea said, say no when it's a no, giving so much to everyone else and not giving enough for yourself is what I don't want to do in 2022. So, I just sit back and like, you know what? I'm gonna get that vanilla shake because I work hard for it.
Yeah.
And I want that vanilla shake, so I'm going to go and get it. So
Right.
2022 for me looks very similar in just remembering to take care of myself and not worry so much weigh the world on my shoulder.
Sounds good.
Yes.
It's Tracy J.
First, I'm going to say ditto and ditto because I wholeheartedly agree with what I just heard. And I will add to that. So I have this expression, feed the happy. It has been sort of my mantra for the last maybe 5 years or so. So I'm very intentional about doing things that make me happy and not much else. And I am very guarded about my yes. So I have the word yes in reverse on my shoulder as the only tattoo I have. And it is a reminder when I see it to say yes to myself. And so that's what I would add in addition to everything everybody else just said.
Wow. That was I like that. I like that. Well, I will say for me, I've had to plan out my time, my me time. And, for years, because I am the kind of person who loves to help people and I love my family. I try to deal with what's in front of me. I try to keep all my commitments, but I give myself permission to say no, or I need to take a step back. I'm gonna need a moment. I'm gonna have to get back with you on that. I give myself permission to change my mind. Because sometimes when we make commitments, it's outside of the picture that we're currently in. When you're standing in a picture frame, okay, it's not what it looks like at the moment when you have to show up for someone. Your circumstances may change. Life happens, and I'm the kind of person, if I give you my yes, like Tracy said, she's guarded with her yes. If I give you my yes, I'm gonna show up, because that's the first rule of leadership for me. I'm gonna show up. I know what it's like to have somebody show up. It's nothing like it. However, I have got to be able to give myself permission to say, my apologies, I need to reschedule. My apologies, I'm not gonna be able to make it. My daughter needs me to show up, and mommy has to be there. I have to make those adjustments. And so for myself, when I need to show up for me, I'm showing up for Leona like I show up. You know, when I jumped in that fight years ago in elementary school for my brother, okay? I was quick with it, right? I got to show it for me like that. And too often women, we give and give and give. So to me, self-love for me in 2022 looks like me showing up for me, like I show up for everybody else. When you look at romantic love, and that term for romantic love is eros, when you think of having a partner, do you think you need, or what exactly do you want? Because sometimes what we want and what we think we need are two different things. Because see, I used to want the 666, okay? The six figures, the six class, 6 feet and taller. And actually you had, honest to God, if you wasn't 6'3", I don't know what was going on because I wasn't even looking. You had to be 6'3" and taller. Tracy, what do you think you need? What do you think you want? Because you were the whole inspiration with this tonight.
Well, I'm gonna start by disagreeing with you because I think what I need and what I want are the same thing.
Okay.
And I think that I deserve to have what I need and I deserve to have what I want.
Okay.
And so, and whoever is coming, it's got to be both, or they're not the right person.
All right. Hey, no disagreement here. No disagreement. No disagreement. and let me explain to you, because one of the key components to communication is making sure that we understand what another person means. So what I mean by what I need and what I want, or what you need, what you want, may not be the same thing. I may want some Oreo cookies, but I need a green shake. So for me, that's why what I need and what I want can be something different.
No, I hear you.
I'm not Oreo, baby, but I know I need that green shake.
Woo. I'm not disagreeing for you. What you need and what you want might be different things.
Gotcha.
What I need and what I want have to be the same thing. If they are not the same thing, then we are in the wrong space.
All right. And you got to know what you want and what you need. You got to know.
Let me clarify too, because I've been married twice, divorced twice. So in my first relationship, and I say this often, and I've said it publicly, so it's not like some big secret or surprise. Mm-hmm. I believe I was married both times to give birth. The first time to my daughters and the second time to myself. I was not in love when I married my first husband, but I do have his children.
Right.
And I was in love when I married my second husband, and I was not his person. And that is okay. And so whoever is next, I'm going to be their person. And they're going to be my person. And I'm going to stop there. But everything will just be in alignment, or else it's not right. Right. I'm not saying yes for the sake of saying yes. I guard my yes, right? And I'm not partnering myself with somebody for the sake of being partnered. I don't think that's necessary.
Much respect. I mean, I've never been married, but when I tell you I respect that, I do. And I haven't been married because I've guarded my yes, because I had 1.5 proposal, and I say 1.5 because one brother, he actually had a ring from his previous girlfriend, okay, and she left him for a baseball player. So he just had this thing where he really just wanted to get married, and he told me from day one when we talked about it, Leona, I think you're my wife. Well, you are my wife. That's what he didn't say. He think, and I was just like, what? It was just too much going on. He literally had a ring in a box, and he just had the idea of being married. And to me, that's just, I don't move like that. And then the first time was my son's father, the boy's dad, Calvin. He did ask me to marry him, and I didn't regret saying no. I knew that he wasn't ready. And when he did get married, unfortunately, the person that he married after I said no, years later, he married someone else, and they've gotten divorced. So she and I have had some conversations. She called me, of course, I did not call her. Okay. And I love his ex-wife. She treated my sons very well. Love her family. She's half white, half Korean. So they exposed my children to so many different things. Love her to life. Love her daughter. I love her. But no, I agree with you, Tracy. I don't want to get married just to get married, because that sounds like misery to me. And I want happiness in my life. So, Miss Baley, what do you want? What do you need? Or what do you want and need? It can be a combination. The same thing you want could be the same thing you need.
First, with Tracy, guard your yes. Like, I think I need to put that somewhere. It needs to say guard your yes.
Yes.
So that is key. I love that. And so for me, what I need and what I want needs to align. It has to make sense. And so one thing that I need is peace of mind. I need a peace. Let the church say
some serenity, honey. Yes.
I need peace of mind,
Doors
and I
of
need
the church
serenity.
are open.
So I need that in my relationship, in my partnership. I need peace of mind. And what goes along with that is, I need to feel secure, but, I'm going to feel secure within myself. And, I need my partner to do that as well. And I was just having this conversation, and it's really like, gosh, I can say this. Everybody go through stuff, right? So everyone, has a bad day at work. I have a bad day at work. When we come home, it needs to be an understanding that this is our sanctuary. This is our safe place. So you go to your corner, I'm gonna go to my corner. And I know your hobbies, you know my hobbies. So if that's a moment where I need to go to and do my hobby so I can calm down, and you need to go and do yours, and then we come and check in on each other, that's the space I need and want in my relationship and in my love. But I'm a girl's. I'm a romantic. I want my flowers. I want you to bring me flowers, and I want you to keep that up. My last relationship, I would give flowers all the time. We got in a relationship and the flowers stopped. Well, wait a minute. What happened to my flowers? Consistency is what I want and need. And that peace of mind is what I want and need. And I think once you have that, all of the other love and the mushy stuff and the things that that physical touch and all of that, it's gonna come. Also, I think a lot of people forget attraction. I think a lot of people leave out that attraction. I need to be attracted to you, and I need to want you. So it has to align. It just has to make sense for me.
Well, I hear you. For me, it's not that I don't think I ever was, consider myself to be a shallow person when it came to dating, because the first thing that I would ask myself was, do I see this man being a father to my sons?
Yes.
And if the answer was no, I had to keep it moving. And I found myself, as men started to, explore the idea of me being in a relationship with them, I wasn't finding that fit for myself and my sons. And I had to include them in the equation because they were. Now, as life moved on and I dated, my sons never met anyone. I didn't date a lot, because I knew what I wanted, and I just didn't. I felt like that person was as unique as I was, it would come in God's timing. And then when I felt like it was the right one, I met my daughter's father, and he did meet some of the credentials of the 666, but not all. And that was okay, because I was past that. It was just that as a woman, when you're confident in yourself, the lifestyle that you want, how you're moving in terms of what you're willing to bring into a relationship, financially, emotionally, spiritually, all of those things. I wanted someone who was aligned with that. So do I have my mental list? Yes, I do. But no, you don't have to be 6'3", at least 6 feet, at least that 6'3" is like my perfect height, I don't know why, but in my mind, that's just what it is. But you can be 6 feet. You can work with that. If you got everything else you're working with. And then the other side to that too is that for generations, we've been having this conversation about, men and women being gold diggers. And, as a woman who has raised sons by herself, relationships mean more than cash. But when you look at the responsibility that comes with developing the life of a child, it's expensive. It's expensive, people. When you take in consideration dating someone, it's not that every woman out there is a gold digger. You have to look at the lifestyle that you're trying to maintain and sustain in order to continue to reach your goals. I don't want to be broke in retirement. I don't.
We were, Leona, we were having this conversation this past weekend about how women are taught, well, where all of us are taught about being equally yoked, but women are taught separately from that and alongside of it that we should wait for the man to find us, that he should be the provider, that, all these other things that contradict being equally yoked. So if we're both bringing the same stuff with us to the relationship, then we can balance out some of that extracurricular noise that's in there. But if we're all the time expecting to be taken care of and expecting that he just gonna miraculously find us and
I hear you, girl, because I know I explain myself. And then what happens, Tracy? What happens if we just assume all of this is going to happen?
Well, we get disappointed.
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
Either in the relationship or while we sitting around twiddling our thumbs waiting.
Absolutely, because brothers need help too. And, to each his own. What a relationship looks like in 2022 for everybody is different. Even for the students, honey, because nowadays I was talking to one student and, the things that they're dealing with in terms of these relationships, it's a lot. And they don't even look at marriage. A lot of these children who are up and coming, they don't look at marriage in the traditional sense of the word. The morals and the values that I grew up with are starting to look ancient. Because it's like, whatever goes, whatever floats your boat. And so I have to leave room for people to be who they are. And you need to know what you want and you need to know what you need. So what about you, Andrea?
Ooh, this conversation is so rich. I can have so much to say. So let me see where I can start.
All ears.
So certainly what I desire and what I want. So y'all, look, I am in my 50s, and for the first time in my life, I'm living by myself.
Ooh, you look
first lady.
No way.
Ooh, you look good.
So beautiful.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm saying that to say that it wasn't until I got divorced and I became single that I could really figure out what I need and what I want. Because in those moments of my singleness, I got to really see what kind of container was required for me, what it needed, what it took for me. And that goes back to what you were saying, Leona, like, I don't want to be broke in my retirement. So what that container looks like, there's some certain things that needs to be in place and happening that when we partner together, we're moving forward. Like, I'm not trying to go backwards or do less than. And as Tracy mentioned, yes, about being equally yoked, I'm dating men and they are, comfortable men and they are willing to do the role of provide, protect, all that kind of stuff. However, they have all clearly said that they desire a partner that's equally partnered with them because we don't know what's going to happen in life and they don't want their lives to go backwards either. So, everybody wants someone that's like, hey, if we need to step in, if we need to pitch in, what do we need to do to continue to go forward? And I know that is what I need, because I need that, your yes is your yes and your no, because that definitely that can throw me into tailspin. That's a trigger from my past relationship. Like, if something is supposed to happen and it's not happening, it's just going to be a moment, or some moments. So I already know that, and I give that disclaimer out. And so I definitely need that to happen. So that's just somebody that is kind of equal to where I am and understand where I am spiritually, emotionally, mentally, financially. That's all of my equally yoked areas. Like, we need to have this same understanding, because I already raised my child. I don't want to raise no man. I'm not raised. I'm not raising. I'm done. I'm done with the mama. And when I say nurture, I mean, he taking care of me, I'm taking care of him. We doing sweet things for each other. Like you said, the hobbies, or we know each other, we making space for each other, and that type of love. So that is definitely what I'm looking at. And I think probably it's different for everyone. I think some of our similarities on this panel is that we've been married or we've had experiences before. So now when you come into a partnership, it's different, because we're not looking for, I don't need you to necessarily be like a dad or the provider and all that. I can do all that. And I want you to have those skill sets because we have children, but it's something else. Like, I need you to be there for me, just like I'm gonna be there for you. Like Tracy said, I need you to be there for me. Like, I need you to be my person and I'm your person, and we facing the world together. So that is, that's how I feel. So that's what I think about. So it's just like, oh, this is all that it takes to maintain Andrea. These are all the things that Andrea needs. Like, this is the whole container. Like, this the whole shebang. Like, you need to be that's right. I'm just like, hey, you don't know me. They be like, oh, we can get married. No, sir, you don't know me. You don't know all the stuff it takes, and you're not going to get mad at me and be resentful. You're not going to tell me I can't get my hair done. It's too much money. You're not getting ready. You're not getting ready to say any of those type of things. You need, like, we really do need to have those conversations and slow down. And I don't know if things are changing with 2022, like how we perceive marriage and relationships, but it's definitely not what I saw with my grandparents. It's definitely not that, because everybody's shaking their head. It's definitely not that, because it's not that. I do think that we really are, and men that I talk to, we really, really are looking for partners. We really are looking for somebody that we're choosing each other. Like, we're not getting married just to be married, or I'm not getting married because I just need you to be a daddy. I need you to be my person. So that's my thing.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Love it. Okay, now briefly, I don't think most of us, we don't really watch a lot of television. Okay, but I called my mentor, which is my cousin, because he is a man. He's my mentor, but he's very private. He lives a very private life. And I asked him, I said, well, why do you think as a man that relationships are failing by the numbers? I mean, we came into 2022 on social media between Megan Good and Devon Franklin. Unless you've been under a rock, we got that exposure whether we wanted it or not. Okay. And they're both beautiful, intelligent people. I mean, for Megan Good to be considered a sex symbol, that woman is very articulate and she is smart. Okay. She's very intelligent. All right. And sometimes I've heard people say different things, but if you've ever listened to her speak, she's an intelligent woman. All right. She's not just beauty, baby. She's beauty, brains, and body, the triple B's. All right. Excuse me, quadruple, because she got a bank account too. Boom. Okay. So when you think about, I asked him, I said, why do you think relationships are failing? And his answer was, he said, Leona, we're not using it. My cousin's in his 60s and he used to be married. Okay. He said, we're no longer using the same vocabulary to just simply communicate. We're not. He said, what love means to me and love means to some of these women out here is totally different. When people are getting into arguments, they're not communicating properly. And so he told me, he said, you really need to watch The Photograph. Has anybody seen that movie? The Photograph? I just watched it last night for the sake of the podcast, honey. And I was so busy, but I said, I got to make time because this has been on my to-do list to enjoy this movie. And my cousin has recommended it. And when I tell you, what he said, I found bits and pieces of that in that movie. So here you have a woman who is literally, interested in a man, but her mother is telling her, he broke, he gonna always be broke, keep it moving. But she genuinely loved this man. And when you look at these two beautiful people, they were not able to stay on the trajectory of love simply because she did not, if you ask me, communicate consistently throughout the relationship when she was considering, moving to another state. So, Andrea, since you saw the movie, has anybody else seen the movie? Tracy, you saw it too, really? When you saw this woman on film, what do you think, how do you think communication played a role in her not ending up with the man of her dreams? Because that's what that man was for her. That was the man of her dreams. She had a baby for him. It was difficult for her to leave him when she went back to visit him prior to her, moving back to New York. He never knew who his child was. She loved him enough to just be quiet about it and let him move on with his way since he married someone else during her absence. When you think about communication and her just holding in her emotions and not articulating herself consistently and clearly, as a psychotherapist, how much is communication a problem in these marriages? A problem for us.
Very, very important. That is the number one reason couples come into therapy. Because by the time they've been married, for a certain period of time, and they're like, oh, we can't communicate. And literally, like the photograph movie, that made me cry. I was just like, why she just won't tell him? Why? And I don't know what that is of why. I don't know if it's pride or just like maybe what your mentor is saying, just different standards of what we think, like we can't share how we really feel. I do not understand that. Like just saying, this is what it is. He was the love of her life. Like through it never went away. The desire, the need for each other never left her, but she couldn't bring herself to say how she really felt about him.
Tracy, when you consider communication, because you've been married twice, how much did that play a role? And did you allow yourself as a woman to be vulnerable during the moments where you felt like you maybe could not?
The short answer is yes. I think that I did allow myself to be vulnerable. And communication is a multi-way highway. People say it's 2 ways, it's multi-ways. And I think that the communication fails inside of relationships because we don't do enough communicating before. And so we don't ask enough questions of the people who we are entertaining long-term committed relationships with. We operate at sort of a surface level for a very long time. And so then once we get entrenched in a relationship, all of which has been surface and fluffy and happy and going on dates and smiling at each other, we haven't had any conflict with each other. We haven't asked any hard questions. We haven't tested any water. It's too late then to decide that, oh, I don't like the way this person manages conflict. Ooh. Oh, I don't like the way they talk to me when they're angry. Oh, I don't like how they handle particular situations. You need to know. You need to know up front, and we don't know anything we don't ask. So if we don't ask good questions, we don't have good answers.
Mm. And I'll say, Tracy, in my experience, like I'm the person that's like I'm just putting it all out there. I'm letting you know. And I will say most time than not, initially the man will back up from me because they're like, ooh, this is too much. Or, you're dangerous. Like what? And so I'm communicating this because I really want them to know, like, this is me. This is what you're going to get. If we're going to go any further, this is also my expectation of you and how you communicate with me. And so I just think, as Tracy mentioned, in general, people just send their representative and they stay in that representative mode for such a long time that often once you're in a committed relationship, there is so much disappointment and heartbreak. Because
And
you're go ahead.
I don't even know if it's so much the representative, because I think actually most people, when they very first meet, are themselves. And the very first time somebody indicates that who you are is not who they want, if you want to be with them, then you start shifting. So I think we both people normally like, okay, here I am, I'm ready to go. This how I get down. And then the other person say, oh, I'm not feeling that. I'm not. And then you go, oh, okay, wait, he didn't like that. Okay, maybe I need to do something different. And so we start to shift into being some other person and making adjustments instead of holding true to who we are and saying, oh, well, sorry, I guess we just don't fit. You didn't like it. Let me move around.
Wow. Relationships, the expectation is that you will have some compatibility. Like a good relationship is 85%, and the rest you just gonna deal.
Yeah,
See, most people don't know that. They're thinking, I don't know. I think most people think that it's 100% that everything, and it's not. There are some things that will, I don't know. He may just squeeze toothpaste from the middle, and that's gonna annoy you, and that's just for perpetuity. As long as y'all together, this is what it's going to be. But we don't know that. And yeah, Trace, to your point, that does happen where people are like, they shift and they're like, well, I don't like that either. And it's like, no, I need to know who you are. Like, I need to
know. It goes, for me, it goes back to unpacking. Who is a good fit to help you unpack your baggage? Okay, who is a good fit? Because none of us are perfect people. We're consistently evolving, or we should be. Because who Leona Baker was in her 20s is not who she was in her 30s.
That is so true.
Yeah, that's Tracy.
I hope that by the time people get to us now, they done unpacked as many bags as they do. I mean, because when you meet people in your 20s, maybe even your 30s, you haven't quite figured out what's in the bag, maybe just yet. So yeah, you might need somebody to come along, help you unpack the bag. But baby, if you have not unpacked your bags at this point, I'm gonna need you to stay over there.
Woo.
Don't come over here with
true.
I
need to add not a backpack.
I love
not a backpack.
My list.
Guard your yes, baby. And that bag needs to be unpacked.
So Baley, how do you see the bags being unpacked, Baley? What does that look like for you when a brother is coming with the bags unpacked? What does that look like? Because when she said it, I said, okay, well, everybody has baggage, but what she helped me to realize in this moment, you better make sure, not that I didn't have a thought, but I just heard, just reinforcing it. You better make sure some of them bags are not even with a brother. Okay. So what does that look like for you, Baley? When I guess with those bags, what are some things you don't want? There you go. What are some things you don't want when you
know what? How is he dealing with his baggage? Like what he has going on with his life? How is he managing that? How does he manage his time? How does he manage unpacking his stuff? Like, what does that look like? So that's my question. I do want to go back to the multi-way of communicating. Tracy, I would love for you to I know I'm going off, but I just would love for you to expound on that, because when you said it, I was like, I was just having a conversation, and now in 2022, it's communicating through direct messaging, the DMs, and it's texting. But when you said it, I thought, is that, everybody's big on love languages? Is that part of that, that love language? Is it a part of, just really kind of knowing your partner and knowing, I'm not going to be able to get through him by talking to him. Maybe I do need to just say this in a text message. Or maybe, if things are kind of, it's not really going anywhere. What's another way to communicate with him? Is that what you were talking about when you said multi-way of communicating?
So Yes, and.
Question.
Yes, and. So we have a particular way of speaking, right? And our partners have a particular way of speaking. And if you don't speak the same language, if you don't communicate in the same way, because some of us have what they call high context language communication skills, whereas you need a lot of information to get stuff done.
Okay.
And some of us are low context, which means we just get to the point. And if you don't, number one, don't speak the same way in that way, then all the things you're saying to each other may be miscommunicated.
Okay. Yes.
Then there's also the unspoken language, right? Like body language, right? And so understanding how a person is by how they are, by how their physical being is, right? Because Andrea knows this about me, and she has this problem that she didn't know she had, that everything's on my face. So I could be saying a whole bunch of things, but if you are looking at me, then you know whether or not what I'm saying and what I'm feeling are the same thing.
And gosh, that's so important to know all of these things. That's why it's like helping me realize that you really have to take your time when you're dating and when you're in a relationship, because you have to know those things. This multi-way of communicating is extremely important.
And then there's also, as you mentioned, love languages, right? And so sometimes when we're talking to people and we're talking about, do you know your own love language? Do you know the other person's love language? And then learning to speak it, it's just like learning to speak French and German, right? If I'm talking to you in French and you only speak German, then one of us is going to need a translator. In serious business, right? Or we're going to have to be able to speak just enough phrases in that other language to get our point across, right? And so if you're not either getting a translator, i.e. a therapist, right? Somebody who can come in between and speak both languages and hear you both and help you say to the other person the thing you're trying to say, right? Or if you're not taking the time to learn the other person's language enough so that you can speak at least a few phrases. Come on. For me, invitation is my love language. I know it's not one of those that's on the list, but that's my love language. And the reason invitation is my love language is because it says to me that you value me being in your space and you want me there.
Yeah.
It also says to me that you respect me enough to give me a space to make a decision. When you invite somebody, they can say yes, they can say no. Right? And so if people know me, they know I want to be invited. I'm not always going to say yes, but I want to be invited. Right? And so if you know that that's my love language, just using that as our tangent, right? And you are a person who's always like, you work at a fancy place and you always have these fancy things to go to, but you never ask me if I want to come.
Right.
That's a problem. For me.
Right. It would be a problem for me because invitation is my love language. So you don't have to invite me to all the things, but every once in a while, I'm going to need you to say, hey, we have this thing coming up. Would you like to come?
Yeah. I want you around. I
want you around.
And that's so key.
And it goes back to you know, making me a part of your world. You know, the world as we know it is constantly changing, and the world that Andrea lives in is different than the world that Leona lives in. It's different from the world Baley lives in.
You should know how to enter and be in your world. And that takes some time and effort, you know, and some focus and intention.
Why do you think the divorce rate is so high?
Like what we're talking about, just the communication.
Listen, I don't care how rational, loving we are. We are people who need help communicating.
Because if you think about it, if someone doesn't know, you know, what your triggers are or how your communication style, then like I was thinking about when Tracy mentioned, which we look at in therapy, like your body language. somebody could look at you and, it could just be a regular body language thing that you do all the time that has no meaning at all. It's a neutral thing. And they'll look at you like, oh, you think that's funny? And they take it in a negative way. And now y'all are in an argument. You're not even resolving what the conversation, you're not even resolving what you need to resolve. Now we arguing about, I know we didn't all have these conversations about your tone, what your face look like, how you said it to me, that I don't like this and that. So that's just one of the contributors that, I don't know that we really do the work to understand what love is, communication, what it means to love someone, love ourselves. And honestly, I have found for me personally that people really, really don't love themselves. And that's like, ooh, you can't love me. So let me scoot on over here. I have figured that out. I'm like really paying attention now to how people treat themselves and how they love themselves. And I'm like, oh my goodness, they're not going to be able to love me well because they don't even take care of themselves.
Come on, somebody.
So
the big old
yes. so we didn't, I didn't necessarily pay attention to that before. And so then here I am partnering with somebody and they wreaking havoc on themselves, on me. And we having these conversations. I was like, oh no, this is not going to work.
How can you love me when you don't love yourself? And how can I love someone if I'm battling with my own self-love, which we open our conversation with self-love.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is why those bags need to be unpacked already.
Tracy not playing. Don't bring no bags up and
don't bring the
bags.
That is so true.
I want to add to what Andrea just said too about communication. So in addition to communication, and one of the things that happens in our communication is that we don't have shared values. And because we haven't been having deep conversation, we don't know that we don't have shared values. So then we come across a situation where it's not what we're saying, it's what we're not saying because of a mismatch in a value. And so if we're not able to communicate what our values actually are, and if those values are not aligned, then that's going to contribute to divorce rates.
Come on.
As well.
That's so key. I wanted to look up, so that's what I was doing. Okay, I was looking up the top reasons for divorce. And of course, communication is on the list, which we knew that. But infidelity, it's been happening and we know all about that. But physical intimacy, I think I want to transition a little bit and talk about that. How important is physical intimacy in a relationship? Because the other day, I saw something on someone's social media account where there was a woman, she was having some personal issues. And so in short, she was basically saying, I'm having these physical issues. And sometimes when your woman doesn't want to be touched, this is the reason why. It may have been fibroids or something like that. And because I grew up in a household of men, my daddy had 5 brothers. I had a brother. I had cousins. I had a granddaddy. One of the conversations that I had with multiple uncles was, never withhold intimacy in the physical form, people. Okay, ladies, from your husband to be cruel, to be mean. If it's something you don't want to do, express that, have the conversation, but don't do it in terms of being revengeful. Well, you got on my nerves, so no, you can't touch me and things like that. Like I've had some serious conversations and, me, I'm a very physical woman. I've never had areas in that problems in that area. This is why I have children now. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no problem in that area. Even though it's been a long, long time, because I'm not intimate in that way with just anyone, So my point is, how important is intimacy, physical intimacy in a relationship? And for me, I've always seen it in marriage. I'll be honest with you, based on my, my morals and my values, but based on my desires, I should say, and I'm gonna keep it real, and based on the moment or whatever occurred at the time, it occurred. So for you ladies, how important is that?
It's very important to me. I'm gonna be honest.
I was gonna say very damn, but I didn't know if I could say that on here.
We just say
Second and third that.
It is
Very damn.
important. Very important. I don't want to have to withhold anything because I'm mad at you. And if anything, I want us to make up. I want us to be mad and make up. Like, I think it's very important. It's something about being wanted and feeling wanted by your partner that, you know, it's a certain empowerment that I get. I feel, I'm gonna speak for myself. It's something about being wanted by that person and knowing that, you know, my man wants me. I look good and we are a hot couple. So we need to, you know, get through those biological things that last a little long. We need it. We need to feel good and we need to connect. It's another form of connection. And I would say it's another way of communicating too. That body language. I mean, if we are intimate with each other, we're gonna have that body language. We on the dance floor and we are, you know, doing our thing. That needs.
That's important
to be communicated.
All right. All right. Okay. Ladies, Tracy, Andrea, where we at with that? How important is that? Do you see that creates conflicts in relationships when it's not
yes.
coming together?
Yes. 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 And I will say, because, you know, I believe in being transparent, that I have in relationships withheld sex because of anger, frustration, being too tired, a lot of reasons.
Thank you for being honest, because my uncle's baby, we talked about that. Thank you.
And also, now that I've unpacked my own bags, I know that it is a thing I want.
Ooh,
so I'm not trying to keep something from you that I want.
Okay. We don't have to fight. I mean, we can be like Mike and Mike tonight, but we don't have to fight.
We don't have to fight.
I also think that sometimes men don't understand that women's hormones are cyclical. Mm-hmm. That even if we are intimate people, even if we like sex, there are some times when our bodies just physically are not able. We're just not interested because of hormonal things, and that had nothing to do with him. And so that goes back to communication, right? It's a thing you have to be able to communicate. And also, speaking on behalf of women with small children, particularly women with small children who work inside the home or outside the home. If the man is not contributing to the upkeep of the house and or the upkeep of them children, and then you come home and think that she's supposed to just be available to you at your beck and call, my friend, I'm gonna need you to rethink that statement. I don't think that women's bodies should be weapons against men, but I also, or against partners. I don't want to genderize that, right? But I also don't think that we should believe that our bodies are just available to people just because they want them. I am offering to share myself with you because it is something I desire to do, not because you are owed anything from me.
That's true.
Wow.
And unfortunately, too many people think that when we are partnered, that we owe the other person something. I don't owe you anything. And I have 100% autonomy over what happens to this body.
Right.
So if I want to do this, I'm going to do this. And if I don't want to do this, I'm not going to do this.
Okay. Well, I will say this. You know, for me, when I'm in love with a man, all of that comes natural for me.
Mhm.
And I know they say the honeymoon and all of that stuff changes, but I don't know. It's for me, like I just love who I love deeply, and it is what it is. We can communicate, we can talk it out, we can walk it out, do what we need to do. But when I'm in love with a man and he's mine and I'm his, in terms of not being possessions, but just in terms of being my man and me being his woman, it's a beautiful situation,
Mhm.
but a relationship consists of so much more than physical intimacy. And unfortunately, we are struggling in our community, essentially in the African American community, where there are so many broken homes. And I say that as it relates to the statistics, all of when you look at, 65, 70% of the children being raised in an African American home and coming from broken families, all of the negative statistics from being in jail, becoming prostitutes or being homeless. I mean, so many negative
Domestic violence.
So many negative statistics surround that. So as we're closing up the podcast and trying to wrap it up, how do we provide solutions for ourselves and for the audience as we think about love, as we think about eros, as we think about brotherly love, as we think about fellatio love, love of self? How do we provide solutions with the background and the knowledge and the information we have as women collectively from the lessons that we've learned? What can we say? What can you say, Andrea? What can you say, Tracy J? What can you say, Baley, to someone about love tonight as we are winding down the podcast? What can you say to give them some self-reflection and have them to think, whether it's romantic love, what is it? What can you say?
Are you ready to love?
Basically, so straight to.
Are you ready to love? Are you ready for that multi-way of communication? Are you ready to understand if I'm guarding my yes, that does not mean I don't love you? Are you ready? I think that's just as simple as it get, because after this conversation, I have a lot to reflect on for myself. Am I ready to, look at that person in the way that they communicate and just really be in that person, in that relationship, in that moment, and ready to what are my intentions? What are your intentions? This is powerful. This has been so good, but you have to be ready. Really, truly ready, and take your time with finding that person. And I think society puts a lot of pressure on women, especially women, those of us in our 30s, to get married, to, have more children. I get that all the time. You're not married? You didn't, like, what's wrong? Like, why are you not married?
Nothing.
You have to be ready. You have to be ready.
Yes.
So what are your intentions? Are you truly ready? And all things self-love, all of these things, everything that we talked about, just ask yourself that question. Are you really ready to love? That is so powerful. That's what I would say.
Wow. What I would say is, are you willing to wake up every morning and say, what can I do to please my husband today? What can I do to please my wife today? And then meet in the middle to make things happy and peaceful and inviting for your other half, your soulmate, or whatever that is to you, because it's different for different people. Because for me, when I picture a relationship, the best relationship that I can go by, the best example that I was provided since I was a child, It wasn't my parents' marriage because mommy and daddy couldn't make it work. Okay. They didn't know how to make it work. Although my mother taught me, and she says to me before she passed, she said, Leona, if I had to do it all over again, I would have stayed with your dad and I would have kept people out our business. Because at the end of the day, your daddy's a good man, Leona. He is, and I loved him. That was my husband. My mother told me that about my daddy before she passed. Okay, and she passed in my arms, but she told me that a few days before she passed because we had some in-depth conversations because she had a lot of reflection that she did before she passed. Okay, now for me, my grandparents, they knew how to make it work. And what were some of the components of making it work? My grandfather was a godly man, and he didn't use God's word to tear down his wife. My grandmother went blind. She was not born blind. She went blind. And my grandfather was a very handsome man, honey. The young women would be looking at Mr. Baker, carrying on and, cutting up. But my grandfather was dedicated to his wife. He would have conversations with us about how he just wanted to be with his wife, and he didn't want to catch the AIDS virus, as he used to say, when nobody was talking about AIDS and HIV. Poppy had the conversation going on. So I say all of that to say, watching how when my grandmother started to get sick and he would take green alcohol and rub her body down, and just massage her body. Or when he would pray for her, he would get up in the mornings and be on his knees and calling out all of his sons' names. My grandfather had 6 sons with the same woman, all right? And he would call out all of his sons' names. He would call out his grandchildren's names and pray for them. He would be consistent in his character, his conduct, and his conversation. All right. So the same man that was walking around in the neighborhood, going through his garden, pulling out carrots and watermelon and cabbage and okra and all of these things from his garden to feed the community, was the same man who they called Deacon Baker that was sitting on the pew. He was just consistent in his character in every area of his life. And he taught me, Leona, great men don't arrive, they evolve. Okay, he taught me that. And he told me, I don't want you to think I'm perfect, because I wasn't always like this. I was a showstopper. I was this, I was that before I met your grandmother. Okay. Because he said he got saved when he was in his, I think he said he was in his 20s. He was kind of, in his words, he was kind of old when he got saved and changed his life, right? According to him. But I say all that to say, when I watched their marriage and I watched my grandfather cook, my grandmother, we would cook with her too. She would tell us what to do, but she was blind, so she couldn't be cooking by herself. There were sacrifices that went on. My grandmother was intelligent enough to fold up her money a certain way. So when my grandfather gave it all away to people that's knocking on the door, she would say no. And she would wait until he needed to go get some food and say, okay, here's a 20, here's 100, because she knew how to fold up her money the way she taught herself. And it gets real in relationships, family members passing away and children are, in need of resources. And it's a lifestyle. Are you fit to run the race with your mate? Because all of this exterior is cute, but what's inside and what you're going to be bringing to the table every day in terms of your attitude, your actions, okay, that is going to matter. Because I don't want to be with someone that has an attitude every day, coming in the house, slamming doors. My daddy spanked my butt twice, and I had a group spanking with my siblings. That was it. I could never handle somebody hitting me physically, because I'd be ready to go off, because other than my mother would get down, but daddy, he wasn't like that. My daddy would talk to us. He wasn't a hitter. My grandfather hit me once in my hand with a spatula and never touched me again, because I was so disappointed in him. He never did it again. So life is going to come with a lot, people. Are we willing to wake up and say, can I please my mate today? Can your mate wake up and say the same about you? And y'all just having these conversations and meeting in the middle, making love, being present, serving God, building your community. I mean, what more could you want out of life but beautiful children? And if you already have children, you got to love on them in the process too, and help them to become decent human beings in this world that's just falling apart by the seams, if you ask me. But that's a whole nother podcast. So are you fit to run the race, to be ready to love. As Miss Baley said, are you fit to wake up and please somebody other than yourself? I know what love means to me. And hey, I'll just be patient because I'm like Tracy. I'm not jumping in no swimming pool, okay? Because I have peace in self-esteem and a lot of things that love is made of, so until the right one comes, I'm good. But when the right one does come, y'all won't be able to find me. Because the sister gonna be enjoying herself and she's ready to love.
You are something else. So here's what I would leave. Some years ago, I taught a class called Would I Marry Me? And it was a way for us to look seriously at ourselves. Because, most of us come into relationship with a long list of things we want from somebody else, but we are not entirely sure of what it is we bring. And so the reason I say that whoever is with me needs to have their bags unpacked is because I spent so much time unpacking mine. And so if I'm coming to the situation in that way, then that's what I'm anticipating that the other person is coming with as well. And because I know what I bring. And I think that it's important for you to know what you bring. And be able to, again, honor your yes and feed the happy.
Ditto to what everyone said. I agree totally. And I would just leave the audience with really, really, you, as Tracy mentioned, you do need to know yourself. There is no way you're going to take a half person and make a whole relationship. And if you're not fully present within yourself and understand who you are, and you've never been married before, it's a whole different level of giving, sharing yourself in a way. And if you don't know where you end and that person begins, you can lose yourself and things will not, generally they don't go well. So I would definitely say, as Baley mentioned, are you ready to love? And that question really leads you back to, am I ready to do this? Like a lot of us don't realize in our baggage the trauma that our hearts are closed, that we're nasty people, like would you marry yourself? Like, that we have an attitude, just like, sometimes in the situation, you are the toxic person and you need to look at all, like the whole picture of who you are so that you can explain that to your partner. Like right here, I'm probably going to do something off the wall here. You just going to have to bring me back. That's my disclaimer. Like right here, it's not gonna go right. So you just gonna have to just so you know, you're gonna have to leave me like, Andrea, come on back, because you don't went, because I know that about me, but I have done the work. So I just say do the work, because healthy individuals, that's what builds healthy relationships and healthy families and healthy communities and a healthy world. But it just will not happen if we're not just ready to look at ourselves.
Absolutely.
Woo, honey, I love it. I love it. I love it. Ladies, before we close out, I just got to touch briefly on Andrea's point. Okay. I just got to touch a little bit on it. She's basically saying, are you healthy? Some of us, we don't have that self-awareness where we don't realize we're unhealthy. I had a person I had to back up from because that person was unhealthy. See, I grew up with sisters, and I've always had a best friend ever since elementary school. That was just me. I just like people, and this particular person, I noticed I would hear them say things in a negative manner towards me. It was like undercuts, little jabs. And I know what that feels like because people don't deal with me like that. People don't handle me like that. Sisters don't handle me like that, sis. So how you moving? Other people are not moving like that. So although I wish that person the best, God bless them, I had to back up because unfortunately, due to some trauma, that love and growing up and understanding how to communicate with other women and not taking jabs at people, worrying about what they're eating or, what they have on or, just little jabs, trying to tell them certain things and you don't know what you're talking about, just saying things just to be negative. Thank you, Andrea, for teaching us to be mindful of being healthy. And you also said, sometimes you're going to have to tell your mate, hold up, you're going to have to reel me back in, because one thing about me, I love hard. And, I don't have a problem with you redirecting me, because when it comes to certain things, I may need to be redirected. I might be able to.
We all in our healing too. Like I'm still, like you said, we're evolving. So as we evolve, you stumble upon another area like, oh, I need to heal over here.
Yeah, but honey, when it's the right man, he can just touch you on your shoulder and be like, babe,
Yeah.
Girl, you be like butter, like. Child, when it's the one that's yours, and he child, like, what? Your whole mind just switch. It's power in the midst.
You just healed by the touch. No.
It's power. Ladies, we had a lovely evening. I'm so grateful you all could join me this evening. Tracy, thank you for just being you. Thank you for just being so transparent and letting your light shine in a way that I could even reach out to you to say, Tracy, we need to go ahead on and do this podcast and have a conversation about love. It's just something about you, your richness, and just being genuine. And I appreciate that. Baley, I'm grateful for you. You have so many positive attributes that people just don't have a clue. And the things that are coming your way and just how you're handling your business. I mean, the world has yet to fully understand and know who Baley Charles is. Andrea, it's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. We might have to contact you and just really get, in that office. For people that are watching, she is a psychotherapist. She knows how to hold her water. As we used to say, hold your water, hold your water. So stop telling your friends your business. Stop gossiping about yourself. Get you a psychotherapist and handle it. Resolve the problems. Contact me if you need some life coaching. Leona's here too. Tracy, okay, she has a master's in communication. So look, brothers, I know you see some beautiful women on this panel, but don't call me or contact me unless you have it together, because everybody on this panel is single and ready to mingle. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye-bye.